going on, everybody? Back with another podcast with the old crew this time. We're going to do a end of the season podcast. We got pretty much everybody in here besides the redheaded stepchild, Devin. We got Brandon Goodman, my dad, the old mighty Jimmy, and Matt. What's going on, everybody?
How you doing?
Yo.
Old Jimmy. Basically,
Bring on next season. We're ready.
basically going to be talking about just a recap of the season, how it went, things we can improve on, and even like the blinds that we like permanent blinds that we put in this past year. Because in my opinion, I feel like we could do a little bit more to them this off season, because I think this is the year that we're going to be really hunting out of them hard this upcoming season. But I don't know. What was your guys' opinions on this past season?
On the blind part, though, we kind of got ripped off where the farmer cut around our blinds, so all our grass.
The hide-wise.
Yeah.
The hide. I mean.
So it could have been better on that part, but next year ought to be extremely better.
With that being said, though, the blind's always out there. So if the birds are there, they're there. Like, they're going to get used to that blind being out there with brush or no brush at all. I think the hardest part with our blinds is, one, visibility, like us seeing the birds and us sticking outside and then seeing the birds on like sunny days and stuff, and they're spotting us from, because I remember, I think it was when Kenny came and I had to walk across the road to see if we soared a bird on one of the hunts, and I walked all the way to the road in front of us there, but I could see our faces all the way from that road sticking out of that blind. So that, I think that's the only downfall.
That was with the doors down too, though.
Probably, yeah, probably.
I mean, that blind really for us is a game changer. I mean, we didn't get to hunt it much this year because the field, got tilled under.
Right.
We hunted it twice, maybe 3 times.
I think so.
And then the field went under. The farmer did cut around it, but we made it work. We went and got grassed it all back in. It looked as good as it could.
Like I said, I if it's there all the time and the birds want to be there, I mean, it's not like we're throwing an A-frame right in the middle of the field and all of a sudden here we are.
Yeah, we definitely need to do something as far as that back, like maybe cut some windows in or something to see
some
behind
slivers
us.
or something.
But on that, we had planted sorghum in front of it and all that. Which
The other blind.
Which would have been tall.
The other blind we did.
We didn't do it at the ditch. We did it at the.
Oh, right.
One,
Yeah.
But
So that could help
did
us.
that did grow up pretty good over there. But again, the field got tilled under, and we hunted it early season. And
We got a couple. I mean, that was really our only early season field besides the
we only
sweet
got
corn field.
20 birds out of it total out of all
Probably.
the times we had it.
Probably.
Well, like anything, you sit there and you hunt out of it, you look at it, you put something in, and then you have to make changes to it. So this year we're going to get some grass. We're going to plant some more grass around them and improve it a little bit. So it's all learning. If you don't learn and figure out what you're doing, it's but like you said, those fields that the blinds are actually in will be very productive this year because of the crops themselves that's going to be in there. So hopefully it'll change it. So
We basically gave those birds a whole year off.
Pretty much.
In those fields because we never shot at them out of those fields really.
Right. I mean, there was only one field that we really hunted this year.
Yeah, and thank God for that one field.
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
aside from that, we had just
Year spots over by the house there.
little tiny backyard hunts, which panned out, and we ended up getting a lot of birds out of them. But
Right.
without that, the one flooded spot we got, we would have been screwed.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, that one by your house, that was a banger though. That was fun and good.
early season.
Yeah, that was door.
And just a few strips of corn too. It wasn't much left there.
The 50 by 100 yard sweet corn field.
I think I measured it was 50 by 50 is what it was.
It's not big, but with the ponds and the subdivision and all that, then the birds love it.
Yeah,
And
then,
it's cut early.
and we shot what, 35 or 40
35 or 40, yeah. In all of
by 8:30, I think.
Like an hour.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I think we used like 6 decoys, if that, 5 or 6 maybe tops.
It wasn't many.
And I think that was the only time we've ever really put the A-frame somewhat in the middle of a field.
Yeah. I mean, there was standing corn behind us, but we had probably 30 yards before you You know, you hit it because that field when we hunted it was only 50 by 25, 30. You know,
right?
Because it was only half of it cut, but
on the edge of beans,
the edge of the standing beans.
I think this is the first year that we've hunted in the last 4 or 5 years that we haven't put out the trailer. Like we haven't just loaded a field up with decoys and just. I mean, this year I think the max we put out is maybe 6 dozen full bodies, and it's kind of crazy because you think, man, the more the better. But this year it seemed to be that the less the better. This year, but again, we always talk about it when you find the birds, you're on the X, the birds are in the field, they want to be there. You don't need much except to get them to where you're actually sitting at. And other than that, we really got lucky as far as like setting decoys and doing that kind of stuff this year.
Even like the fields like previous years, though, the only fields that we really threw out the trailer was probably the traffic field, which
the Corey field, the one hunt we threw out.
Yeah.
Your trailer and all of mine, we had like 16 dozen decoys out there, but we also had 2,000, 3,000 birds coming right into that field. So
yeah, that was a good hunt too.
Tried to match it a little bit, but ever since then, I don't think we've put out more than 8 or 10 dozen max, and like your dad said, this year 6 for sure max. Other than when we hunted with Corey and them guys up north, I think they put out about 8 or 10 dozen, but that was with dive bombs.
Yeah, silhouettes and everything. Yeah. But it's so hard to say because I feel like every year goes in like it's its own thing where some years I feel like dive bombs are really good. Some years I feel like more decoys are real good. Some years I feel like less decoys are real good. I feel like it's a whole turning point because, back a couple of years ago, layout blinds were the only way to go. Now A-frames seem like the only way to go. Give it a couple of years, maybe layouts might jump right back into the mix. Who knows?
Well, and you got to figure those birds. I mean, we're not killing them all.
Right.
So those birds that actually make it through the season, make it back to the nesting ground, and then continue to migrate again next year, they've seen it. I mean, I'm sure they forget a lot of it, but they've seen it, and it only takes one time for them to get shot at, for them to be like, oh, shit, I remember this from last year. And so within a couple years, those birds will be dead, and then you'll have fresh birds that maybe haven't seen a layout ever because everyone's doing A-frames now, and we'll have to start going back to more layouts.
Which, I mean, we've gotten super lucky with, I hear all the time about on podcasts or whatever about hunting like close to the ditch lines or the tree lines, which we don't really hunt tree lines or anything, but there's not a whole lot of people that get away with it like we do in our area. But with that being said, we're the only ones pressuring those birds really, which are a couple guys here and there, but
and our topography of where we hunt, we don't have a choice.
No,
we're not hunting 500-600 acre fields where we can just throw something in the middle of it and it doesn't throw anything off.
It's all flat land,
and our biggest singular field is maybe 60 acres.
Well, I think the other thing you really got to consider too is what we do is we hunt weekends.
Yeah,
we all have day jobs. We don't have, so if Kyle's out scouting and the birds have been in there for 3 or 4 days, they know what's in that field, right? They know what's in there, so you can't just surprise them on a Saturday morning and throw out 3 A-frames in the middle of a field or somewhere. Those birds know. So if you were hunting them every day or if you were doing more, I think you could get away with more. But we have to really concentrate on our hides. And I think this year we did a really good job on our hides. I think, to be honest with you, the amount of birds that we had this year, I think, was a little down from the last couple of years as far as what we had because of the weather, I think, and the amount of crops that we had.
You're talking about migration-wise?
Migration-wise, yes. I think we were down a little bit from previous years. But
Definitely.
as far as like what we do, the hide to me is there's nothing other than the hide that we have to focus on every time we go out. Because if you don't focus on the hide and you don't figure out exactly how to fool those birds with a hide, it's paramount. You can't get away with anything that we do without having good hides.
Well, and this year we got crazy lucky. I don't think we pulled the A-frames out, but maybe.
Yeah, it seemed like we barely ever did.
Yeah, less than half.
We
less
had,
than half.
Our one spot with the corn never getting cut and having that
still
low
not
spot.
cut.
we were able to just tuck back a couple rows, and all we had to do was carry chairs, guns, and decoys.
And it was super nice too. I mean, earlier in the year, I remember telling everybody that, we're only going to hunt it 2-3 times tops. I mean, we're super lucky that it worked out the way that it did many times.
I feel like we hunted that
every other,
at least one day every weekend all
Right.
duck season long.
It
Right.
seemed like, yeah.
they just kept on coming.
Yeah. I mean, we'd hunt there, and then we'd hunt my house. That's
Right.
basically our weekend for almost all of duck season.
And what was really weird this year too was we didn't hunt one single bean field with birds in it. There was not one. Every year we usually have a handful of beans,
We had the one hunt in the ditch blind field.
but the birds weren't like there though. I mean, they were in the
they were in the field connected to it.
We were running traffic basically down.
yeah, they were in the winter wheat field.
Yeah, we were on the X, but we weren't on the exact X.
Right. I mean, they were flying somewhat over us, but usually every year we have a handful of fields that are solid beans that are holding a lot of birds. It seemed like this year the cornfields that did come down came down right when the beans came down. Yeah. It was just, I don't know, it was all around.
Or they didn't come down until
right.
Or still haven't come down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and we were mostly wheat fields in the beginning.
We didn't really even have that many wheat fields,
Just
though, if
had
you
the
think
one,
about
really,
it.
right?
We had the one blind, well, and then the apple orchard we hunted, but we only hunted that at one time, and it was real foggy, unfortunately,
Paul Henneman.
because I feel like that could have been a really good hunt.
A really good hunt, yeah.
And I mean, I don't know. It was just me personally. I feel like it was one of the toughest years that we've had.
100%. And the weather.
in a
I think the
long
weather is
time.
what dictated our lack of, or our, I don't want to say the toughness of the year, but the weather, I think, is really, I mean, the last weekend of the year, we're sitting out there and it's
60 degrees outside.
60 degrees. So, the weather has a lot to do with it. The birds just weren't moving. Open water everywhere. Fields come down. They could move every single day.
What was it, North Dakota? I think it was in December. Still was holding like 100,000 Canadian geese.
Canada and what was it, the weekend before Christmas, I think. I don't remember who posted the video. I want to say it was East Coast Waterfowl. And
They look like blackbirds out there almost.
yeah.
Yeah.
There was 70, 80,000 birds in this one field
Yeah.
at 2 days before Christmas.
I almost feel like that's kind of a big reason for our spreads even too, because it almost seemed like it was September all year this year.
Yeah.
Like a family group of spread, like it was just, there was nothing crazy out there. I mean, most of the year we were hunting feed. What was our biggest feed this year?
Probably the hunt where we only shot 4.
4. Oh yeah, probably yeah. You're right. The first cornfield we hunted in the year, behind the pine trees.
Oh, yeah.
Where we got there and we realized we
Yeah.
had a whole school bus of kids from every school there. That was kind of a crazy hunt.
That
Yeah,
could
but
have
we
been
didn't,
the best of the year, but we
Well,
didn't
and
do
we
that right.
also, like,
That's learning.
the kid, we were going on what he saw and kind of what you saw. You saw him in there the night before.
Yeah, I seen them the night before. Yeah,
But no one knew that they were also in the field on the other side of the tree line, which
right.
in turn just sucked everything that was coming to us to them. And
I think we had a good hide on that field. I just think the
Yeah.
wind really screwed us up that morning.
We were in
But
the wrong spot.
every year, whether we learn from it or not, because there's a couple of times like every year where you catch yourself doing the same thing that you did years prior that you're like, why are we doing this? Whether it be, well, when we went out with Carter and all those guys, first thing I thought of with the sun was, man, our shadow's going to be horrible this morning. Like just that kind of simple stuff that you overlook. And it's just, that's stuff that you really got to think about.
I think one
during
thing
every
that we're
hunt.
really going to learn from this year too is, like, I think Brandon said last weekend was late season. Starting next year, we're going to have to do a lot more afternoon hunts.
Yeah.
Because, when you're scouting and the birds are hanging tight and it's cold in the morning and they just got their head under their wing and and then they start getting a little more active around 10, 11 o'clock, and then they start really moving early afternoon, middle afternoon, but they don't move a whole lot first thing in the
Especially
morning.
with the weather that we've had this year, 100%. Because it's hard to say that when there's some days late season when the birds are feeding all day long.
Right. And he said the weather. The weather, if it's cloudy
right.
and cold, they're going to move first thing. We kind of know that, but
Right.
Well, I feel like every year we get screwed at least 2 weekends of late season.
Yeah.
Where we think they're going to be there in the morning because they've been there every other morning, and then we go out there. And
I feel like they're just kind of getting hip to the game almost at that point sometimes, you know?
yeah.
But don't you think if we had the cornfield, you would have better got a better feed for the cold weather?
Yeah, 100%.
100%. Oh, Jimmy.
That's what I mean.
Doing?
When you don't have the cornfield, what do? You know, so that the feed's not going to be as good.
Well, even that, I mean, we were really relying on one field getting cut this year. One field.
Right.
And we've been relying or thinking about that one field for 3 years now. And, of course, it didn't get cut this year. But speaking of corn even, I bet you can count on one hand how many times we hunted a cornfield even this year.
Right.
Like a cut cornfield.
But that's what I mean. In the cold, they use that corn to heat. I mean, just like deer or anything else to heat them up, right? So if you don't have that cornfield, you don't have the feed in the morning like that.
Right. Well, and then beans get that fungus on them if they get wet at all, and then the geese just won't get in them. But everything, like, by the time the farmers got the beans thrashed or the corn shelled, especially the beans, it was so late in the year that they had no choice but to till it right under. And that's what I'm really worried about for next year even is September. Because I think I've seen 3 winter wheat fields out of 3 different cities that we hunt out of. And September, I feel like, is going to be very, very tough next year. Very tough.
Yeah. I mean, we'll have the small field next to my house.
Mhm.
That's sweet corn every year religiously.
Right.
The old man makes a part of his year's money off of that. But aside from that, like you said, there's not much winter wheat anywhere.
We got the one field that we hunted opening day 2 years ago, I think it was. And I think that's really the only winter wheat that, besides the cattle farm, maybe.
in silage, you gotta kind of look. Maybe we're gonna have a couple silage fields this year, maybe.
But that's not going to get cut
But I mean,
till
it's
mid to late
September.
September.
September maybe.
So it's gonna be tough.
We always talk about it every single year, and maybe that's one of those things where we need to go up, north a little bit further and try to find out some of those spots that, me and Jimmy always talk about up in the Thumb, that he has a cousin or a friend or a buddy who is right on the water. He said they just stage up there like crazy early season. And
Well, it's the first point from the
right.
migration.
He's right in Port Santa, like right on Lake Huron, right there.
right, so he's right on the water. So I mean,
Yep.
we might not have something right here, but I think it might be that one weekend where we say, hey, road trip, let's go. And as long as we plan that stuff out and do it that way. But
It's just so hard with popping up and just saying that sometimes. I mean, we say that every year that we're going to go up to see Trav up at his parents' house, whatever, or whatever it
this year
may
might
be.
another good thing going up there this year.
No, it for sure might be, especially with all the DU projects that's going on up there. But it's just so hard to say, all right, we don't have any birds come Thursday. Let's figure out a day this weekend. We're going up there, and that's it's such a quick thing to.
Or just pick a weekend and say, hey, we're going.
Right.
So I mean, that's just something you talk about later and figure out.
Well, we've said it 2 years in a row, and if it happens again next year, it's only our fault if we don't take the jump and do it.
Right.
Or just
We'll
drive
say
out for
it
the
again.
day. Trav's a little more than a day trip. It's a weekend trip. Obviously, you don't want to drive there for a day and come right back. But
Yeah, up there it's a 4-hour trip for us.
yeah, I mean, even going up to our place up there in the middle of the state, I mean, that could be a second weekend shooting up that way too, just for the weekend, a couple of days, and we got places to stay. So
Which they might actually come down next week, and I'm not sure.
Another thing that probably hurt us is it stayed so warm. I mean,
Yeah,
if it
100%.
got colder sooner, we might do a little better.
Well, it didn't get cold at all until season stopped.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly. So
I think there was one
Our
time.
December hunts, it was 55 degrees.
Yeah, I think there was one time that I was running the ice heater out there, and that was it. I mean, it was.
Yeah, well, we ran the ice heaters for all of 2 days between the split.
Right, and that was really
Yeah.
the only time we needed it.
yeah,
That was it.
it did warm right back up.
I mean, prime example, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, that band that was shot later in the year, it was what, December or November, late November, whatever it was.
The one you got?
Yeah,
That was on the 2-day, wasn't it?
Was it the 2-day?
I thought it was right at the end of the season.
It was either right at the end of the season or the 2-day.
It might have been 2-day. Now that you say that.
If it was December, it was the 2-day.
It might have been the 2-day now that you say that. Because that's when the Gator guys came up.
Yeah.
So I think it was 2-day. But, okay, so the 2-day split comes along, and we shoot a band that's 30 miles from where we hunted at. And I guarantee you that bird's been in there for 2 or 3 other hunts that we've been there, and we just didn't shoot it.
Yeah.
You know, there just wasn't really a migration this year. You know, you'll have your flight birds early in September that just like your calendar birds, but other than that, there was nothing at all.
Yeah, I mean, if we're basing the migration on the bands we got this year, the furthest away bird we shot was that one we got at my house, which was Wisconsin.
Right.
I don't think anything came from Canada this year that we got.
We only had 2 this year. It was just those 2.
Thanksgiving hunt when we went out with those.
Oh,
guys,
that's true.
The 2 goose bands,
That's
but I don't
true.
know where they came from.
Moosonee and maybe it wasn't Moosey. It was at Cata,
Oh yeah.
whatever that place is, that Indian Reserve up at Hudson Bay. But I don't know how long it was or how old they were.
Right.
I mean, they could have been birds that just literally staging around this area.
Yeah, because yours was what, 2 years old, 3 years old?
No, it still had milk on its lips.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was this year's bird. It was an older bird,
Milk?
but
Banded this year.
yeah, banded this year.
So, banded when it was able to fly.
Yeah, yeah.
Milk.
Well, that's the
Ducks
one that's.
drink milk. Ducks drink milk.
Fuck yeah, they do.
I've seen TikToks with that.
Sure.
Jimmy, what do you think, Jimmy? You think ducks drink milk?
Ducks drink milk.
Yeah. Where have you been? Have you been here? Did you just get here, Jimmy?
Conversation. Kyle said that duck had milk on its
Well,
lips.
when we used to raise
Milk?
ducks, when the mom wouldn't take them, that's how we fed them milk and bread chunks. The milk to make the bread soft.
I've seen that before.
And they'd eat it right
That
up.
I can see that, but they're eating the bread, not the milk.
They eat the milk too.
They eat it?
It goes down their gullet.
Anyway, moving on. What a baby duck's diet
But
is on milk.
the band that came from my house was banded in 2019, able to fly, or 2018, able to fly.
Yeah.
And we just got it this year, so that bird was, 5 years old?
Which who even knows with the spot that you guys have over by the house there? I mean, that bird could have been here for
Right.
X amount of years
Yeah,
even.
yeah, he might have got banded and came straight down here and never
Right.
left.
Right. Who even knows? I mean, that spot over there,
But
it's such a hit or
It
miss.
just goes to show that bird's 4 or 5 years old, how many spreads he's seen
Right.
and all that, and then we shoot him out of a koi pond, essentially,
Yeah.
over all of 4 decoys.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, Matt. Go ahead. You're going to say something.
Nope.
You're going to say something.
Nope.
What's on your
Trying to
mind,
wake
Matt?
up?
Nothing.
Oh,
So maybe ducks are maybe they catch on to these little ponds like that, you know.
Well, we've always known that like it's like a confidence thing, one, but every year it seems like mallard numbers are going down, and that's a huge thing where they don't know if it's just because of the farm ducks getting let out so much and the birds aren't really being able to fly. I mean, I'll even bring it into turkey season though too. Like, there's nobody really even predator hunting anymore. Like the coons and stuff, or even crows. Crows will destroy a mallard's nest. I mean, how many people that you know that predator hunt like that?
Raccoons, skunks, possums. I mean,
Well,
yeah.
the difference is how many people do you know that go out and target raccoons?
Nobody.
Because I've hunted most of my life, and I just found out, like, within the last year that you could actually go out and sit and call raccoons.
Yeah.
I've heard of guys running dogs on them. I've ran into a couple old guys out at Point Moulet and shit running dogs on them.
Was it you just? Did you just get a call
I've had a
for
call.
a coon
I just
run?
never used
Must have been a guy at work or something because he just bought one and
Yeah.
he got it for the turkey
I mean,
reason.
I have an e-collar
Right.
that's got a coon call on it, but I just assumed it was to entice the coyotes to come in and
Right.
fuck up a coon while it was occupied getting its ass whooped.
I wouldn't mind doing that on a couple of the properties. One especially being the opening day spot that we hunted a couple of years ago, that wheat field,
I'd love to go out and play that thing and just whack some coons.
because There was one year I seen 6 coons in broad daylight swimming in the water like a water hole.
Yeah.
And like I said, nobody hunts them.
Well, the problem is, which your buddies that were on last weekend or the last posted podcast, that shit's expensive.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I was looking after listening to the podcast at some of the shit he was talking about.
Yeah.
That scope he's got's like a $6,000 scope.
Goodman, what was that? Mono knock? Was it $2,000 just for the monos that we were looking out of that night?
Wow.
One of them was $2,000, and then the other one was more than the scope.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the one that I was holding all night, that thing was between $5,000 and $8,000.
Wow.
I was holding that thing all.
I didn't want to touch a button on the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of buttons. I don't even want to touch them.
Well,
I just
when they
gave
were
it right to
talking
him.
about it, and
I mean, you'll see the setup tonight.
yeah, well, they were talking about it, and he said he went into whatever Joe Blow's gas station or whatever when they went up for
Right.
the tournament, and he walked in and came out after spending like $5,500 on the
Right.
scanner. I mean, not everybody's just got $5,500 to go throw down on a thermal
No.
scanner, which I'm sure they didn't either. By the way he was talking about it, it sounded like his wife might have kicked his ass. But
Yeah, I don't think they wanted to bring it up the
I'm
price
not-
at all.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend $6,000 on a scope to shoot
No.
raccoons.
Not listening.
Yeah.
But
You know,
it's kind of weird though because we got our niche in bird hunting. That's their niche.
Oh, yeah,
So it's kind of
100%.
one of those things
Yeah.
where it's like
100%.
tomato
Yeah.
kind of ordeal.
That's they're into both, so they're getting dicked on both ends.
Yeah.
I'm not going to spend that much money on a scope. I'll sit out there with a red flashlight or a regular flashlight.
Right.
Or the old patented just drive down the road at night with your brights on, and when they run out.
Yeah, but you buy a $3,000 shotgun.
Well, yeah, I will. But
Exactly.
I mean,
I don't know. Everybody's got their own niche
So
with it all.
what do you kind of going off of what we were talking about the fields and stuff? What are we looking forward to this year as far as like expanding or like you were talking about the blinds or looking forward? I think we've already talked a little bit about ponds and expanding things like that, and maybe like you were talking about adding on to the blinds. You were talking basically about a little shed back there to put the 4-wheeler in, so you ain't got to worry about that. Maybe a little cooking station.
That's what I would like. I mean, especially with, even just spots to put birds instead of right on our feet or all over our equipment or whatever. Looking up other ways that people have blinds, which Sean sent me all the dimensions of that one blind that they hunted in Illinois there.
you're the only one that likes to put bloody shit on top of your equipment.
Yeah, I know.
That's definitely true.
But it would be cool to have like a separate room. I'm not talking about a whole like living room and kitchen and stuff like that, but like a designated area. It would be sweet, but
There's a time and a place for those elaborate blinds. And
We don't have the area
unfortunately,
around here.
We don't have the place.
we don't have no. We have the place.
Well,
we
we-
just don't have the birds to
Right.
put that much time
We have
and
a
effort.
place to
Into one
put
spot.
one. We
Right.
just don't have a place that would be worth putting one
Right.
because normally we're hunting a field 3 to 5 times a season.
Right.
Max. The only reason this year we hunted the few fields that we had so much is because that's all we had.
The only spot that I could possibly think of putting like a Taj Mahal in is the one field we hunted a lot this
Oh
year.
yeah, but then the problem is there's not really much area to put it for one.
Right.
And two, if you put it underground, before you know it, the blind will be the water hole, and the water hole will just be a dried up.
Well, let's think of it this
spot.
way too. You're talking about that. Obviously, we don't do any guiding,
No,
right? There's no guides. It's just friends, family, and
yeah,
our little group. So we have no income coming in to do that stuff. Everything we're doing is just for us. So
Well,
if you're gonna put
we have income, but it's our day jobs that we
Right.
also got to pay our bills.
Right.
So what I'm saying is, so if you put X amount of dollars into a blind that you're going to hunt twice a year, and then maybe only once the following year, depending on crops, pay points isn't really worth putting something like that in where you can put an A-frame up.
Right.
So if you had a spot, like Minnesota or Wisconsin, that birds were coming from Canada daily,
Constantly
new birds, it'd be a totally different story. But where we're at, by the time they get to us anyway, most of those birds, I don't say all of them, but most of them have already seen spreads from there to here. So
Which the one our ditch blind, I don't know how we can really add on to it, just because of the fact of how we have it set up, in that we have the opportunity to hunt both ways. So you can't add on to the front or the back. You'd have to add on and do it sideways, which that obviously would be tough.
Yeah,
but
I think that's out of the question.
Our other blind, we could add a spot for the 4-wheeler to drive through. I mean, you just literally put a piece of mesh down on the backside to drive the 4-wheeler through, and maybe have like just a little spot to throw birds or equipment or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's easy.
The only thing I could say for the ditch blind field, if we wanted to do something to be able to leave the 4-wheeler there, would be just make some type of platform down there strong enough to hold the 4-wheeler, drive the 4-wheeler right into the ditch, and throw some fast grass over top of it or something like that.
Like that spot though, it's we're lucky with that spot because we have a good place to park. Mm-hmm. So it's not that bad to run it across.
That's
the
what
road.
I was going to say too. I mean, it's not like we have to drive super far on any spot, but
Right.
I mean, even the other blind, it would just be nice not to have any. I mean, it's so nice to have like people. It's funny because people get to our hunts that don't hunt with us a lot, and they want to start hauling stuff out there, and it's like, just wait a minute, everything's good to go. We'll drive everything out. Like, you don't just walk yourself, and that's it. And it's so nice.
Bag and you're gone.
Yeah, and I mean, we used the 4-wheelers a lot this year.
Yeah.
Everything was unseasonably wet all season long.
Speaking of that,
we didn't get to drive out into the fields as much as normal. I think the last time we drove a truck into the field was
early season,
end of September.
Yeah, probably.
probably.
Yeah, I think the ditch blind.
Well, and even speaking of that, yeah, we drove. No,
we never drove into the ditch blind.
No, we didn't.
The other blind we did.
We used the tower pole, or the power, like the giant poles.
Yeah, we used the light poles.
No, I'm saying drove into a field. We used, probably the last time when we worked on the ditch blind, we actually drove into a field.
Oh, probably that. Yeah.
We drove into the
Cemetery.
cattle panel blind a few times. But that was all September.
The one field this year that really bugged me a lot was that flooded bean field that we did hunt. That we hunted, we watched birds all year round, just dumping into it. Hundreds of geese, hundreds of mallards. The day that we hunt it, we find spent shells everywhere.
We shot
and
4 ducks.
No, 2. I think we shot 2.
3.
I think it was 3.
Oh, maybe it was 3.
Yeah, it was 3.
Yeah, there was spent shotgun shells all over the.
That was probably the most defeating.
I think we figured out what the other 4-wheeler tracks were from.
Right.
Those guys surveying or whatever, but and then we also there was a group of guys that hunted that field before us that got thrown out of there.
That was years prior. I found out.
Yeah, that wasn't. The
Yeah,
shit
that
we
was
knew about.
that was like a 2 to 3 years.
Okay,
the farmer told me about.
Yeah, the lady that Matt went and talked to said it was this year, but she was also older, so maybe she's getting her years confused.
Yeah, it was prior years because no one's ever seen anybody hunting that. Because even talking to like Justin and Ryan, no one's been able to.
Oh.
And with those guys pulling up into the field that morning, just threw up even more red flags towards that field. But that was probably one of the most disappointing hunts that.
One of the most anticipated hunts and the most disappointing.
Yeah, I mean it's
and the muddiest.
Yeah,
and the muddiest. That was for sure.
was.
Well, I don't know. The trailer got pretty muddy last time we took it out, though.
Well,
No, that was all from his house. It wasn't.
No, I know,
nothing
but
to
I'm
do
just saying that it was pretty muddy there too.
Mud pit at the house.
again, unseasonably wet.
Yeah,
My side yard currently looks like I could host a mud bog.
Yeah,
like you already did.
Yeah,
You could raise some money for the group and throw a mud
yeah.
bog in your backyard.
Yeah, mud bog in my
you
side drive.
You and Brandon gonna wear white T-shirts and roll around in the mud for us, and Jimmy throw dollar bills for you guys, or what?
I mean, I'll do it for beads.
Jeez,
Wow.
If it raises money for us for the season, absolutely, I'll go out there in a Speedo.
So what's your guys' like stuff though? Like, what do you
I think
for like
we
next
need
year?
I think we need to set goals like per person as far as getting more fields. Obviously, you and your dad bring the most with the one main farmer we have, which you guys have that locked down, and that's good to go.
Right.
And then you guys pick up fields here and there, mainly because of all the people he knows.
Right.
And then I've got my couple little spots here and there, but I think everybody needs to go out and work on.
Just an area alone, I feel like would be huge.
We need to just move out, like Matt's. That'd be north-ish of us.
Right.
And he works even further north, so he could try to get a couple fields up there.
Right.
Goodman's all over with AT&T. I'm all over with work. It's just a matter of driving by it, knocking on the door, and worst thing they say is no. But if we could even pick up 2 fields a person for next year, I mean, that's another 8 or 10 fields.
Which, speaking of that, you know what field we didn't even look at this year was that field that we were going to hunt that you picked up that one year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a
I didn't even
out
look
there.
out there, though.
I drove by it a few times. It was
Probably beans, right?
It was beans. I never saw a bird in it. And that guy was kind of
Iffy.
fence. Yeah, he was definitely on the fence, because when I did get permission the one year, it was for that weekend and that weekend only, and he kind of wanted to see how it went.
Which we didn't even end
Yeah,
up
we
hunting.
didn't even hunt it. And then the other field I picked up this year because the neighbors decided they wanted to cry about it. We can't hunt that anymore. I mean, there's always next year. I might try to
Where
see
at?
if we can get in it again. Right behind my house, that cornfield.
Oh,
One
yeah,
of the
yeah,
only
yeah.
cornfields we were actually able to hunt.
Yeah, that should have been a lot better of a hunt, too, in reality.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think we definitely need to work on more properties, whether it's a field, a pond. I mean, some of our best hunts this year were literally in backyards.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, honestly, one of my favorite hunts this year, which unfortunately we couldn't, well, not that we couldn't have, but we didn't have the whole crew out there with us, was the last hunt of the year.
Yeah. That was definitely a good hunt.
That was, I mean, honestly, probably like the easiest, most laid back hunt, and it just made it that much more fun to have, like, just simple wise, and because we were dreading everywhere else we were going to go with how muddy everything was.
Yeah. Well, and then, we also had to worry about, when you hunt backyards, occasionally there's other houses.
Yeah.
I mean, we were more than far enough away, according to, rules and regs.
Right.
But it's still that
Just
eerie feeling of launching shells towards someone's back door.
right.
I mean, they're not going to hit it unless the wind's going 90 mile an hour that direction and you aim 400 yards above their house.
That was the most crazy kind of setup that we've had. I don't know, Jimmy or Matt, if you guys heard about that. We got there. We kind of knew where we wanted to set up. Decided to throw the snow covers on the backside, which was a good idea. I think you brought that up. Threw the snow covers on the backside of the blind. The regular grassed inside on the front. Wrapped the dog blinds, since we hunted both of the dogs, in the snow covers. And everything worked in like perfectly. There was no birds that really flared off of us hard, or I don't think
there was zero snow. The only reason we used snow covers is we hunted against the back of a garage, which was sided in white.
Right.
And we thought about doing snow covers all the way around, but the main issue would have been hiding ourselves at that point.
Because we were kind of leaning downwards a tad. But
we put them on the back, and when we buckled the doors, it just kind of looked like the garage came out and had some tall grass on the back of it, and that ended up turning out really good.
Man, I don't want to say some of the best decoying birds, because, I mean, we've had some really good hunts with really good decoying birds, but kind of a thrown together traffic hunt like that, I mean, it was a pretty solid hunt.
Yeah, no, they worked good. I think one of the biggest reasons they were trying to stay on our left was how tall that corn was cut.
Yeah, 100%.
And right there in front of us and to our left were the two biggest spots that the corn had been flattened out, whether it was from the semi or combine tires or whatever it was. But the stalks and the rest of the field were, knee high.
Which it was one of those things, too, where, like, I wish I would have seen it before or thought about it before and threw more decoys off to our right, so they kind of worked that way more.
Yeah.
But I think we threw, 2.5 dozen decoys out, maybe? And it made it look just...
six-pack out.
But it was just such a realistic spread with, like, the 2s and 3s and stuff. Just solid grass and no mud. I mean, it was perfect.
Good.
Yeah, it worked for sure.
I think my goal this year to looking forward is, first priority for me is the trailer. I mean, you guys know how anal I am about the trailer, and it's amazing it's actually kind of rewarding, I guess, when you bring people out and say, man, how much stuff do you fit in this one trailer, and it all just works, right? I mean, it's a jigsaw puzzle going back and coming out. And
giant game of Tetris.
Right, it is, but I think that is my number one priority, is getting that trailer. I think I have a couple ideas to actually make more room out of nothing, but I think I do. That is number one. I would love to see us get another one, maybe two. I think one at your house, a permanent blind, where I think we got some plans for that to make that better for next year. Something permanent over there. And number two is our steady field this year that we carried in the chairs and stuff that we used. I would love to figure out, because I'm telling you, with the 2 farmers that we have, they are amazing when it comes to basically saying, "Hey, do what you want, man. Whatever you need, just let me know. I'll cut how you want. I'll plant how you want." So I think that is the relationship with some of these people we've made over the years has been absolutely incredible, because without those guys, like you mentioned earlier,
Which we might have just picked up a bunch more property.
right, being north where you just were
Yeah.
last week. But it's just looking at from that standpoint, I would love to do. I think the cattle panels last year that we made the blinds out was amazing. I really like that a lot. I think
Got a little bit of fabrication
Yeah.
to do with that, but
yeah, but I think for the
not
most part,
crazy. Like nothing absolutely nuts
major,
with
right?
it.
But
Yeah.
I think doing that I think is my 2 biggest keys as far as like what to do ASAP to get that stuff ready for next year, because the sooner you can get it out, the longer it sits and the more it's there that you don't have to worry about, oh, this is brand new, like we were talking about earlier.
I'm working on getting some steel frames from one of my customers that they're getting ready to throw out. They're, I want to say about 3.5 foot wide by 8 or 10 foot long a piece, made out of 1.5 to 2 inch square tube.
So heavy.
Yeah, they're going to be heavy. They're not something that we're going to move in and out, but for the flooded field, if we could get Dwayne to let us if we built one and maybe sunk it 6 inches and then put dirt up and, just mounded dirt around it. And then we could use those at my house too. But just stuff like that.
It makes them weather worthy to the weather,
Oh,
too.
yeah,
They're not going to
yeah.
get blown over,
Yeah, the only problem with those, like, if we're putting them in the ground at all, we're going to have to buy sheet metal and put sheet metal on them, because plywood's just going to rot out.
Especially in those fields.
We could put 90 layers of paint on it. It's still going to rot out. So sheet metal's a little pricey, but, if it works out and the blind's, good and sturdy and we get good hunts out of it, it doesn't really matter.
Right. What about you, Jimmy, Matt Goodman? What are your kind of goals, or what do you guys see for the upcoming year?
I definitely want to move further north, scouting wise. That was
Jimmy's
a
swallowing
total
him
bust
like
out there.
Well, it kind of like what he said, if you find fields that are out further, somebody else can scout them instead of you scouting them. You can scout the fields where somebody else is running and check them
you
other
can't
birds.
move back anymore, Jimmy. Jimmy's head's gonna go through the wall here shortly.
You can't even say what he's doing because that won't sound too
You were
good.
swallowing the mic. Yeah, we're
watching
live,
up
Jimmy.
Here, so that's,
But no, like I said, if we found other fields,
Fine.
you could scout those, or somebody else could scout those instead of you scouting them, because you're going to scout the same fields that you do, and then I think half the problem is you don't know what's out in them other fields. You know what I mean? Because we weren't scouting them.
I'll touch on that here in a little bit. What were you saying though? I mean, just like northwise.
Oh yeah.
What about you, Goodman?
I mean, I've never gotten a field myself, so Brandon does.
This
make a
was
good
your
point
first
here.
full year though,
Yeah.
as well. I mean, you started halfway through the year last year.
Yeah, but now with a full off season and
I mean, so you're still learning about a lot of like what's going on.
yeah, taking some time and hitting the road and figuring something out and
Right.
hopefully contributing that way. I mean, that's definitely something that hopefully I could do this year and hopefully expand everything.
I mean, my biggest thing about like scouting and stuff, especially during the time change, you have an hour and a half maybe. I'm getting home, I change, and then jump right in the truck to go. I'll see where the birds like we just hunted are moving to. But if I wait till Thursday and Friday and then try to find out where the birds are, then I'm basically screwed when I'm only checking the certain area.
yeah, you might have a lot of time, daylight time to do it.
Yeah, so I mean, there could be fields that are loaded up, but we don't know about it because I didn't know. I mean, yeah, it might sound stupid that I'm scouting on a Monday when we have 5 days to hunt, but if I don't know where those birds are going or have an idea, maybe I'm sitting on the roost, checking other fields that we didn't even hunt to see if there's birds over there, and then sit at the roost that night to see where those birds are coming from. At least have an idea where to look the upcoming days, because I'm not going to be able to scout every single day. But my biggest thing is just being able to trust somebody else with scouting and knowing that they're doing it at the right time and being able to see, where we're parking, where we're going to park all the trucks, where we're hiding at, where the birds are coming from, because I'm looking at all that stuff while I'm scouting. I'm dissecting the field and knowing exactly what's going on. Granted that we've hunted the fields a couple years now, so we have an idea every single time we hunt these fields. But on the new spots, I'm really making sure we have it all down pat. That way in the morning we're ready to go and everything's
Now that
smooth.
definitely makes sense because you're the scouter, which means you're gonna do that every field you check into,
Right.
and we don't do it enough to figure that out as fast. You know what I mean?
And it's just one of those things. I enjoy the scouting more than the hunt, just to see everything come together, and that's what's tough about it. Like I said, the bean field that was flooded out, to not have those birds actually work in and spend the time making the phone calls or scouting like that field to see where the birds are coming from, or calling people to even scout that field when I can't scout and they can scout out there. It's a whole different, it's a whole system that people don't see behind the scenes that's going on, just to make those 2 days hopefully worth it for everybody else to have fun with, so it's for me with the scouting, it's like a whole trust thing. Even at your house, Brandon, it's so tough because even the birds over there, like one day they're there, and it's so hard.
My
though.
house is just a whole different animal.
It's a crapshoot
for whatever
over there.
reason, because, it's happened to us 3 years in a row now.
And it'll happen.
I will literally
years
see,
to come.
Next year.
I'll literally see 500-600 birds in the field the night before, and we go out the very next day and shoot 4 frickin' birds. I don't know what it is about that area, but for whatever reason, it's almost like if you see the birds there in the morning, you have to hunt it that afternoon or you're not going to get them.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with every other house is shooting at them.
Yeah, there's a decent amount of pressure over there, but Glenn down the road didn't hunt once this year.
Oh, really?
No, and those other guys, the kid actually is from around here somewhere. I don't know his name, but that bought that shitty brick house that he's redoing.
Oh, yeah.
They only hunted the last 2 days of the season.
Yeah, it's just it's weird over that area. It's weird.
It's hard to pattern them there. I mean, the ducks, we did great, and obviously early season we did good.
Right.
I watched those birds for.
The one sweet corn
least a
field
week.
was the only field I could honestly say that we knew that we were going to be like pretty set in the morning over there.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, I watched them for a week. I mean, these birds were literally 35 yards out of my bedroom window.
Right.
I mean, every day for a week.
Right.
Walking across the road.
Right.
back.
Yeah. They weren't even flying to their loaf pond. They were walking.
Right. It was a turkey shoot at it to an extent. I mean, they weren't walking in on us, but I mean.
No, yeah, they were flying into us, and just like a normal hunt, but we knew they were coming.
Right.
And, I think I called it within like 3 minutes of the first group showing up.
Yeah. I mean, we had those down, I think 2 weeks. We had them pretty much.
It's like a week and a half, 2 weeks,
patterned.
where I was watching them. I was going into work late just to see when they were coming.
Right.
And then in the evening, I was getting kind of a head count to see how many birds were actually there. And for that little tiny field, I think the one day there was like 95 birds in it.
Right. I was honestly kind of super surprised. We topped our goose number from last year. We were what?
I think 2 over or 3.
No, we were more than that for
East,
geese, weren't we?
No, we were like 306 last year, 309 this year.
305, no, 305 last year, 321 this year for geese.
Which is pretty good for the
202, and we were 198.3.
for the amount of fields and the, I don't want to say problems, but it was a struggle this year.
For what seemed like a real shitty year to us because of everything we had to go through to get on a field.
Right.
Compared to the number of birds we got to last year, where we felt like we had an awesome season,
Right.
we did good.
Really
I just don't think we had like that big hunt where it was like, man, this is absolutely nuts. Like, because the year prior,
Jimmy killed the decoy. That was
that was a good hunt.
We had that
blew the
one
decoy
hunt this
away.
year where
Oh, I didn't.
I know that decoy's dead.
Yeah, decoy was dead.
So
mean,
right
that was-
over.
So piggybacking off of that, if you went by individually, Matt, what was your favorite hunt this year? What was the favorite hunt you had this year out of all the hunts we had?
Oh man, I feel like what was the that one? Remember the one I shot that duck at the very end?
Yeah, that was like the second or third time we were out in that thing.
Yeah, I think that was one of my favorites.
Yeah, that was a good
Oh,
one.
That one was wild.
It
Yeah.
was
we
shot
were
like
chasing
six,
that thing all
shot like
over.
6 feet.
Yeah.
What about you?
Nah, where I shot the decoy.
That was
Just because
No,
the decoy was shot.
No, because those birds. How many do you think there was in that
dude.
flock? And they landed out in that lake or somewhere further. They all got up and landed in that pond.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
That was
wild.
opening day of our goose season.
Totally incredible.
That was cool because we were like, oh man, I was like, well, let's give it time. They'll be here.
Like
So what
20
about you, Kyle? What would be your favorite?
I almost would have to say the last hunt of the season, honestly.
Like your favorite hunt? I told him
That or the one with the fog when it was real foggy out and we
Oh,
shot
that
all the
one was-
ducks.
That was
That was
crazy.
cool.
But
What
I
about
think
you?
a lot of the fog helped us.
I don't know how you can beat the rainbow
Flooded field.
up north.
Oh,
And
The
then
pot of gold.
Oh, that was a good one.
yeah.
we're there for, I don't know, 30 seconds sitting, and
Yeah.
we end up shooting geese, couple different species of ducks. That was the best hunt,
That was
in
a
my
fun one.
opinion.
Yeah, that
and I had a
was-
great time up north, so
Yeah, up
was
north
fun.
trip alone
Yeah,
was a
that-
fun
that
time.
trip was awesome.
That was good.
Yeah, I can't wait for that.
that was
again.
my
That
favorite
was
part
good.
of the year for sure.
What about you?
I don't know. It's a tough one. Obviously, the flooded spot where Jimmy blasted the decoy away was phenomenal. I mean, that was a great hunt. That was our best hunt of the year. But I really thoroughly enjoyed hunting my pond. I mean, it's obviously because I don't have to go anywhere.
Right.
You know, I wake
Yeah,
up
that's
5 minutes
that's
before you
priceless.
guys get
just
there.
walk out your back door.
So yeah, that part's really nice. But just it was always small groups of us, limited decoys. The ducks loved it. They just wanted to be there. You were able to bring Ellie out,
Right.
and our first duck band as a group. Not the whole group was there, but our first duck band as we formed this group, the first one. I really liked hunting my pond. I think
Those laid back, easy hunts are just it's such like a relaxing, like no
yeah,
pressure.
it's almost like hunting the flooded field.
Right.
I left the blind there all season.
Yeah.
The only thing we had to do is grab some chairs. I had a bag of decoys sitting in my barn right next to the pond.
Cut a tree at 4 a.m.
Oh, that
Well,
was.
there was
The neighbors had to love us for that one.
We've done
was
some
a
crazy
tree-
stuff in that
yeah.
backyard already.
there was
4
a tree
a.m.
blocking the honey hole. So at about 4:30 in the
I'm
morning,
like, oh, we gotta cut a
it
small tree.
Yes.
Ended up
More
being like
tree.
4 of them.
down. Yeah,
So
and they
so
were a
I'll
little
go.
too big.
I'll go with mine for last. So I think this year for me, I don't know if I actually had a favorite hunt. I think the last one was really cool because you said it was laid back and what's his name? We hunted with
Alex.
Alex was
Yeah.
that was cool. A good dude. Meeting the Dirty 30 guys with those guys. Some good guys too. But I think more this year for me, I kind of just enjoyed the up north thing was cool. I think with all of us being up there, and I think next year, Jimmy was sick as soon as he got there, so that kind of sucked. But
Green flu.
yeah, so I think I'm looking forward to that next year a lot. To be honest with you, a lot. I really think that's going to be a lot of fun. But I think this year more than anything for me was more laid back as far as I know we had some groups, we had a lot of people, but we never had a really day where like, man, this is the worst thing ever being out here. Just seeing the birds work and even like some of the ducks. I think starting to learn a little more about, hey, everyone's not going to be a banger. Everyone's not going to be as much as you want it to be. I think just enjoying being out there and kind of more relaxed, kind of more just kind of like, that is what it is. Hey, sometimes you get a little frustrated and especially for you, Kyle, because, for the people we hunted with and the people that we know, the Gator guys and Sean and those guys and Dylan coming up and, hunting with those guys, don't understand, and most of them do understand the amount of work that you put in. I mean, it's a crazy thing to think about. I mean, I personally couldn't be on the phone as much as you are. I mean, I
Stupid.
yeah, I don't like when I'm calling my son. I think, oh, he's gonna answer for his dad. 2 hours later, he calls me back. Hey, I was on the phone for 2 hours. He's like, yeah, for 2 hours. So I personally would be like, man.
But in that 2 hours,
Yeah.
he talked to 18 people.
Yeah, exactly what I'm saying. So I just think the enjoyment of it and kind of, even like the hunts out of the permanent blinds, which that's the first time we've really ever done that, right? Is had a permanent setup that we hunted out of, just enjoying that.
And that right there makes the hunt more enjoyable because it's not as much work. Like you said, even if you didn't get the amount of ducks or geese that you wanted that day, it wasn't a hard hunt. It was that's what makes it enjoyable with those guys. You know what I mean?
For me, when we hunt the permanent blinds, or my backyard or whatever, when we have a blind already set up, we don't have to do much. Even if we don't shoot a damn thing, is still an enjoyable
way much
hunt.
more easier.
Versus when we go out, we set up all the A-frames, we throw out 6 dozen decoys, we see hundreds of birds. Prime example, the cornfield that we got effed on.
Right.
And everyone gets done, and we're like, well, should have just fucking slept in today.
Yeah.
We didn't have really many of those this year. I think 2 of them.
We had a couple, but it was,
But it is what it is, and you're not gonna get them from your couch or your bed or wherever.
And you'll miss it here in a little bit. But now, now with turkey season coming up, and me and Jimmy are feeding a little bit to get on the boat and catch some walleye, and
you still owe me a fishing trip, by the way.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
and it's funny because
that sounded real promising.
Yeah,
It did. It did.
But it's
a lot of fun too. You guys need to come out and do it more.
I mean, it is because we spent a lot of time together last year, me and Jimmy, on the boat, and this year's gonna be the same. We already got some planned downtime off that I don't even know if you know about.
Yeah.
But, so we're gonna be off like the last week of March, going into April. So it's prime time for jigging season this year for us, and but again, this year I think was a little bit different for me because although Kyle did probably 80% of everything as far as like the scouting, the phone calls, the talk to the farmers, tell them, hey, we're gonna be here, we're gonna be there. I just enjoyed just kind of just being out there, even when the Gator guys come up, just talking to those guys, and it was just like a chill time for me. I thought it was really cool. The last hunt I think was one of my favorite ones, and by far the most enjoyable thing for me is watching these dogs work. When I can see them dogs go out there and pick up a bird and bring it back to you, it's like, wow, man, that's so cool just to see those dogs, just because they have no idea what we're doing.
What's going to be crazy next year is seeing that Mohawk poodle running through the field, chasing after
I've been in contact with Dustin. She's, I believe she's on track to be down there probably by the end of the month, if not early next month. And probably be there for 2 months.
What is that, grown-ups when they spray paint the hair like rainbow colors? That's going to be the dog.
She'll be out there, and hopefully she works good.
Well, I mean, we should be able to get some at least some pigeon shoots, or at least. We talked about it a lot this year too. Even
and that's me and you talked about it recently, getting
in the backyard,
together,
right?
And, I got the pond so we can do water.
Right.
I got the the fields next door so we can let them run out there and stuff.
I think we should when it warms up to the point where it starts getting warmer, is come over to your house and do a little bonfire thing, and
that pile's about half the size of my barn right now.
So I think we need to just. When it warms up, and go out there and have a good time, sit around the fire. But again, like you said, the up north thing was really, really cool last year. I think bringing your camper up, and I think we all just had a good time. Generally, had a good time. It was just.
Well, the nice thing about going up north is it's kind of
our
chill.
Getaway, but hunting.
Like we all got there, and all kind of talked about it like this is our weekend away. We're gonna hunt every single day, morning and night, no matter what. And then the last day, we were just kind of like, let's sleep in tomorrow and make it have a nice.
Well, because I think we
tomorrow.
were planning on hunting that pond.
Yeah, it didn't pan out.
Yeah, it didn't pan out. So we were like, well, we can go to the lake, and then we just.
And those dudes up there, Corey and those guys, man, you can't say enough about those guys because last 2 years they've taken us in on their groups, and those guys, really cool. Goodman, that was probably one of your best hunts, that first day, when Mr. Green Jeans got to talk to us a little bit.
All right.
Hunting with the fella.
I didn't want to let that go.
I felt so bad about that.
We're on Jimmy all the time about the decoy, but it seems that we kind of let that go with you, hunting with a criminal. But
we're also letting Devin go too right now.
It is what it is. It's
I do have another, but it's a little bit further of a drive. But I do have another lake to go to that's just as good. But
thanks, Jimmy.
We're editing that part out.
Better mark that one.
They don't know where it's
People on the live.
It's not hard to Google it.
Hey, it's
Okay,
just as good as that one.
Apple Maps.
And the best part is, we let that one lay.
What's the name of that
Nobody
one?
goes on that one.
Yeah, you got
What's the
exactly
name of that one? Yeah, I could change a couple things that happened up north, but it turned out great. The only other thing I'd change is not falling off that one wheel the first day I got there.
What?
That was awesome.
You missed it,
When they
Jimmy.
ate shit on
Remember
the one
that?
wheel.
Remember that little one-wheeled skateboard that Matt had
Oh
up there?
yeah, yeah.
Goodman was feeling frisky. I mean, he couldn't have been there a half hour.
Oh, he was cooking.
I remember that
cracked
now.
a fresh beer, and he was wide open on that sucker and hit a divot and missed the back of Kyle's truck with his forehead by about a half inch.
And then old little
the-
Dick Eddie that night.
The beer
Same.
went about 60 feet in the air, just end over end, flinging beer all
Jimmy
over.
might have been there. He might have been sleeping
He was
though.
sleeping,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
He slept up there for a good
Man,
20
I
hours.
feel crappy.
Yeah, that
day.
was
So
definitely
Devin
the
wasn't there
highlight.
last year, right?
No,
Yeah, it was-
no, he
it was-
bailed like a week
Devin
before.
had the full plan to come, and then I could work this.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, we're not counting on Devin for anything.
Speaking of phone calls, did I tell you guys about Friday? I got off at 4 o'clock, or I was on the road by 4 o'clock. From 4 to 10 o'clock, I had 52 phone calls, I think,
This past today?
this past Friday.
Well, last Friday?
Last Friday.
Dang.
And 48 of them were from Jimmy's buddy.
No.
No, I'm just joking.
No, but that's the other thing I want to top in. Now that you say that you can't open the door on that, Kyle, is what we do with these geese and how we, people say, "Oh, why are you going to shoot that many birds? What are you doing with this?" This year has been a good year for our processing. We don't waste any birds. We don't. Every bird we've had has been ground up and made into something. We're kind of branching out a little bit more. We're learning some things that we should do, we shouldn't do. The loaves we've been making for the last few years. Jimmy started us all on that. I think next year we're going to kind of nix that. We're going to start making them in actually summer sausage, because it was way easier. And when it smoked, it was way better. The taste of it was better. I think we might use a different seasoning company next year, which we started using this year, which turned out really, really good.
Doesn't hurt to share that part.
Yeah, well, the Bearded Butchers guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
so.
Maybe have them
that-
sponsor the podcast.
Oh, maybe.
That,
Great guys.
The Cajun they had, I thought that was amazing.
They're actually out of Ohio, so the Bearded Butchers. So, really, really good stuff. I just got some stuff. Actually, me and Jimmy's been talking. The last hunt, we are going to make about 15 pounds of goose bacon. So that is on the works right now to make some goose bacon, and we are also going to make some more sticks with cheese. So I've been doing some research on that with the sticks with cheese, which I actually got a shit ton in my freezer right now that I didn't bring, but
I'll give you a cheese stick.
I bet
I'll stop by
Duck
and get some.
a
sausage.
little one.
What?
So
You gonna stop by Brandon's and get that?
give him some cheese.
Sticks.
Oh, from my dad?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so me and Jimmy processed all those, but it's
You must have. It went right over your head. Never mind.
so the other thing we made was some and I guess Goodman said it the best. It's corned goose. Corned goose. So instead of corned beef, we
The Durkin?
marinated 8
What was that?
at a time, and then sat in the marinade for a week, and then we boiled them, and it basically made corned beef goose, which Jimmy had some the other day. He said it was good, but it's a process. It's a lot of work, but always trying to do something different with the birds that we shoot. The jalapeno poppers are a great thing for the ducks. We love those.
Yeah, I was
Grilled
gonna say
duck
we
breast.
don't only use the geese. The ducks
Yeah.
usually get turned into more appetizing things for
Right.
dinner.
Right. Yeah.
The geese are snack items.
Right. And having that bacon, I'm going to make this. We're probably going to make that within the next week or two. I got all this stuff for that as well. So
And if anybody listening does come hunt with us and expect eggs for breakfast and
Not
the
happening.
goose blind, yeah, don't expect that. Just expect goose jerky or goose bacon
next year, yeah, goose bacon
Or,
some
I had
burritos.
eggs with
Some
the burritos.
shotgun shells
That's not
again.
his.
and the burritos.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the shotgun shells.
We
were
need
good.
those shotgun shells. Not last season, but the season before. Them
The
things,
what?
them shotgun shells your dad made. The
Mini ones?
The Italian sausage
Oh,
and all
yeah,
that
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
Oh man,
Those were good.
those
Yeah,
are
Those
good.
were
Yeah.
really good.
Yeah,
And definitely our breakfast game
The hash browns.
is going up.
hash browns,
Yeah.
good, that kind of stuff. It's good because you got to understand too. It's hard sometimes to make breakfast because weather-wise, rain or whatever. Like you said, if we add on to our blinds, so.
Well, and that can even go for the morning wise too. I mean, bring up Alex too. I expect him to kind of be out there with us more next year.
I welcome that.
He obviously I feel like can help us out a lot in multiple different ways. But it'd be nice to get to a point where like maybe you're just worrying about breakfast in the morning and everybody else is worrying about whatever, decoys,
Yeah, because, I mean, you're feeding 8 to 12 guys.
Right.
It's not like the simple breakfast, right?
Right.
You're feeding quite a few of us.
Which, I mean, there was a lot of times this year, too, even if we were running a little bit late. I mean, we like, prime example, the last day, I think I got there, 6:45 maybe, but we had more than enough time. Obviously, it was a very easy hunt.
It wasn't too much longer. We saw our first couple flying after you guys got there that we had everything set.
But I'm just saying, though, I mean, there was a lot of times this year where we did sit there for a while, and I mean...
And that's the other thing, too, if whoever's listening to this podcast next, when you come out to hunt, or if you're invited out on a hunt, which, again, I think 99% of the people that come out this year were great people, and we had a great time with everybody. Jump in and do something. Don't wait for somebody to tell you to do something. Everybody's got kind of a job.
Or just ask to see, yeah.
Ask, hey, what do you need us to do? Because it's very disheartening when you're sitting there and everybody's doing something and you're sitting there watching. And I know being new to the group or new to the hunt, it's hard because you don't know what to do. But like a prime example, when Alex come out there, the first thing he said to me, I met him for the second time because I hunted with him and I recognized his face, but I don't remember hunting with him before. The first thing he asked me was like, hey, what do you need me to do, man?
Right.
And that was like, wow, oh, cool, man. Yeah, do this, this, and this. And he was right on it. So that was much appreciated for that, too. So
Plus, there's no better than hands-on training, right? I mean, if you guys want to do it,
which, I
and you
mean,
come out,
we're
you learn it.
obviously a very open group with, I mean, a lot of that is me, but
We're not hiding nothing.
no.
We share.
Right.
Come out and learn it. That's the thing.
And that's another thing that I'm really looking forward to next year. I mean, every year we're building new connections and new friendships and bonds with whoever, but every year we're building, and I'm just excited to see what even next year brings. I mean, this year we got even closer, even with, say, Migra and GK. What's the future even holding? But beyond the point of like hunting groups around us, I mean, Ryan and Justin and Robbie and those guys, we got close with those guys this year. And, who else can we meet around our area and become friends? But what other relationships can we build beyond that point?
Migra's been very good to us.
Yeah.
And, people can see that when they come out. That's what we're shooting. That's our shell.
Yeah, it looks like it snowed around the
That's
blind.
what we're wearing.
And if you're worried about how they shoot, just look at the decoy, right, Jimmy?
That's right.
Count up the birds.
Count out the pellets in the decoy's head.
Before I forget again, I just want to
Check
say
out the
thank you,
pattern.
Kyle.
Yeah, man.
Everything you got, you put in. Obviously, your dad puts a lot in too, but
Yeah.
I know you're not looking for the thank yous or anything like that, but we definitely wouldn't do as good as we
appreciate
did.
it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, we couldn't do it without you scouting.
Oh,
like
for
that.
sure.
Second that.
For sure.
Yeah, thank you.
It's, I don't know.
And the
something I
work you
enjoy.
put into it, not just your scouting. Coming out, you're calling, you're setting up the decoys, you're making sure things are right.
We got, well,
He didn't hear you. He didn't hear you.
I call too.
yeah.
We should have started the live before Jimmy came when he had the call.
Wish I had the headphones on for that.
Yeah, probably not. No, I think like you said, it's Kyle does an amazing job, and to be quite honest with you, if I could go back 6 years when me and Kyle started hunting together, it was just basically me and Kyle trapped him down once. We were hunting my cousin's pond, hunted a couple places locally that we didn't know, and then I got a buddy that, oh, hey, I know this guy, and started hunting his place. And to be honest, when we first started, the first hunt we basically ever did, the first pond that we were excited that we got, me and Kyle literally put a burlap sack over our feet, sat under a tree, and thought we were going to kill birds.
And had the old Polish man working on a tractor
10 feet behind us, banging on a blade.
You guys seen anything yet? Nope. Haven't seen a thing.
Well, they're coming, though, boy. They're coming. But it's hard to believe where we're at now compared to what me and Kyle would. We literally would go down to Lake Erie, put our feet in the water, and think we were going to kill birds all day long down there. And when we shot one or two, it was like, oh, my gosh, this is the best. I still think back to one of the first duck hunts me and Kyle had where he literally he was frozen solid. One of my funnest hunts we ever had, and I can still remember not even know what we were doing. We shot one redhead. It was the most beautiful bird ever. And then almost all greenheads.
Probably regret not even mounting that one.
Yep.
I think everybody that's seen that bird, shortly after.
But to think where we're at now and the people we've met and just by a phone call or a chance at work that you work with somebody and just a chance, just like social media, everybody talks about how good, how bad, indifferent they are about social media. Sometimes not all that good. But Kyle's built a lot of relationships through social media. Myself, I've built a lot of, with the migrant guys, shout out to Mark and Q-Tip and Wade and those guys. They're just they're great people. And Taylor now, Taylor's another, got a shout out to Taylor too with the turkey side of it now. So
relationship with the farmers.
Relationship with the farmers.
Incredible.
We've started, me and Kyle jumped out of the truck one day and the guy gave us a small piece of a field. He's like, well, I don't know how it's going to work, guys. And look at us now. So
that's one field over in that section of properties that I was shocked this year that did not get touched at all.
Yeah, I was too, because it's loaded up in the past. But no, again, good season. I appreciated everything about this season. Obviously, there's some things we need to change, and we got to grow and get better. I think, but for the most part, I think we're learning. Like you said, meeting new people. Just by Devin not being here today, that's been a blessing. Don't edit that part out, whatever you do. But hopefully we start out real good next year, early season. Like you said, it might be tough, Kyle, with our fields.
Now, you think next year with all the water, the flooding, the breedings would be better? Come this spring?
It's tough to say. You gotta. Obviously, the winters that we have a lot of snow and cold, the water rises when all that thaws out and floods out a lot of nest. But
this year, with it being so wet already, maybe they'll nest higher and not have to worry about that as much.
But then I start worrying about. I think in certain areas the nesting and the hatches will be really good.
Especially if it's warmer,
with it
nest earlier.
With it being, this year you'll probably see 2 to 3 hatches off of geese. This is like one of those years.
We saw them pairing up last weekend already.
Even before that, even.
Yeah, they're pairing up already. They're on track.
But with all the flooding is what I'm worried about, just because of the fact of they're going to be nesting in areas that are going to be dried out come middle of the year. And then, it's hard to say with the lakeside birds, because that has to do with a lot of the wind and, say we get a lot of east winds and stuff and it flushes the whole nest out. I think it'll be a good year. Don't get me wrong. I know I just heard the pintail numbers are way up.
Somebody was saying, I forget who it was, and I can't even remember if it was a reliable source or not, but the geese are migrating back with some type of a sickness. I can't remember what it was.
So I didn't hear that.
Yeah, somebody was telling me, and like I said, I can't remember who it was or if it was even reliable, but they were saying something about there was something put out not to eat late season birds in northern states, because they were coming back up.
Iron guts over here, they did anything.
Well, we're gonna eat them obviously, but and I don't even remember what it was. Obviously, it's not the bird flu or anything like that because we've heard about it. But
bird flu, I heard, is way down this year. It's still around, but
yeah. But if that's an actual true thing that I was told, that that could affect our numbers next year.
I think the duck numbers will be definitely up because I don't think we really got the duck push at all this year. But like I said, I think the geese will be way up too. There was
put the peanut butter away, Ray.
Yeah, what's wrong?
There was multiple weeks, even though that Corey and them guys were loaded up north and they were closed already. Even when we were froze down here, they were still wide open up there. I think all numbers will be good next year, better than usual. But who's to say anything about even the summertime? I think the fires up in Canada had a lot to do with it. All the smoke and everything else had a lot to do with it. So there's so many different.
Depends what happens.
Yeah,
we need to find a good wood duck hole.
I agree.
I think we only shot 2 wood ducks this year.
Oh,
Yeah, and that was up north.
we did better last year with the green wing teals and the blue wing teals.
Well, we didn't get out
yeah.
as much. You can see
Yeah.
we got them
Right.
twice.
I would love to find like a little creek, like a you know,
I think we can find
10-foot
one.
wide
I think I might
creek.
know a spot.
That
You
bean
want to give
field,
us the location?
You know what? I will give you the
the what field?
pin after
that
this.
flooded bean field.
All right.
That creek that was running right there behind us.
Oh,
That was a pretty big creek.
yeah. That's supposed to be going into solar panels. But we'll see. We'll see. But anybody else got anything?
No, I just the last thing I want to say to anybody again is all the people that's helped us. You know, the migrant we always talked about, SX Decoy, Scott, and those guys up there, out there, I should say, in the middle of the country. Great people. I also wanted to mention one other, and I know they're not a big, you know, but they do support us. Is Lucky Duck. Lucky Duck is actually a lot for us too. They've helped us a lot with their products. Great customer service. Tori and those guys are great when it comes to helping us out with basically warranty and things. We run the 10x4 blinds.
4x10.
Or 4x10 blinds. What did I say? 10x4? 10-4. Good buddy. 4x10. What an idiot. That's same exact thing, just different.
And that's actually the 2x4 blind.
But we don't run the 2x4. The 2x4.
Well, it's called
Anyway.
the 2x4.
Kyle with the GK calls. Yep. And Gator decoys, those guys out there. I know, Kyle, you at the end of every podcast mention those guys too. But hunt with those guys, get to know them a little bit better this year. I think that was, I talked to those guys quite a bit actually. So, again, I want to put that out there on my side. And I know, Kyle, you do mention them every time. So,
Yeah.
from
in general, I mean, we're standing behind companies that stand behind us and then that we trust their products and can't thank them enough. I mean, we're rolling with reliable companies that aren't going to do you any wrong.
no, very,
I
very,
mean,
very
we're not
good.
going to
Yeah.
support some crappy company that's making a year like design that you got to get a new one every single year or anything. I mean, we trust in our equipment and
We put it through the test.
the people. Yeah,
Yeah,
We
That's
put
for
their
sure.
stuff through the test.
that's for sure.
And we give them good comments back if we have issues or anything, which we usually don't.
Which
but-
that's what makes a good company, though.
Right.
Yeah.
Amen.
That's what makes
They
a good
get
company.
right back
They
with
listen
us.
to the feedback.
Right.
I mean, the Gator,
Means a lot.
with those guys there and Dakota and those guys, the first time we ever used their stuff, we called them that day and we were telling them the issues that we were having. And, man, they were right on it, man. They were
Which there will
spot on.
be some big things coming from them
Yeah,
in
that's
the upcoming year.
excited about that with those guys, talking with those guys about stuff. And, again, you just can't beat the relationships. And 90% of what like that is social media. I mean, that's,
For
They-
sure.
They appreciate our friendship too.
yeah, they do. They really do.
For sure. Anybody else got anything?
Not to spring into another conversation, but
Oh, God, here we go.
Ray was talking about the dogs. Rip now's got a year under his belt, and he made a lot of progress this year. So I'm excited to see him next year.
That's one thing I really like, and Brandon kind of touched on it a little bit, that I really like. That's one goal this summer, is getting the dogs really out and running them, because as stubborn even as Ellie is, there's still a lot of improvement to be made. But, you know, Rip, obviously with him being so young in his first year and stuff, you know, you expect that.
Great job.
You did a really good job, yeah, for
You
sure.
really did.
And then Ellie, you know, she's almost too smart, it seems like, half the time.
She didn't hide any
Um,
birds this year.
No, because we didn't let her.
We didn't
Yeah.
give her the chance.
Yeah, we didn't
Yeah.
give her the chance. But no, they did really good this year for us, for sure. For sure. But no, the last thing I'd like to say, well, two things. Thank you to the group, because without everybody here, you know, every hunt wouldn't be what it was without everybody there. I mean, everybody's got an idea of what to do in the morning. Everybody's got a goal toward, like, to make it a successful hunt. You know, whether it be from getting decoys out of the blind, setting up decoys, whatever needs to be done gets done. Whether calling at 9:30 at night, getting 4-wheelers in the trucks, or whatever.
We know our jobs.
yeah, I mean, and like I said, we wouldn't be able to have, or wouldn't be nearly successful enough, like as successful, if it wasn't for that. So I want to thank everybody for that. And then, if nobody's heard that Migra just dropped their new turkey load as well, which I'm super excited for, turkey season coming up. Go check Migra out at their website or on their Instagram, social media, anything. But other than that, I'm all good. So thanks for listening, and
Continued.
see you guys next time.